welcome to another episode of PsycKicks. My name is Liv. This is M. M, say hi.
Yo.
And we are your sidekicks to all things metaphysical.
No.
Yeah. And today we're talking about unicorns. Are you excited?
Sure.
It's gonna be a horny time.
Oh, God. No, I'm not excited.
All right. So many people have asked about unicorns, and our patrons have voted. If you guys want to have control over the content that we post, feel free to go down to the show notes and look up doodly what Patreon is. It's pretty fun. You get a Discord server with a whole bunch of other sidekicks just like you, exclusive services and content. It's a grand old time. But if you can't, that's okay too, because we still appreciate you watching our videos on YouTube, listening to us on the podcast airways, and on our PsycKicks YouTube Extras channel. Em, what do you think about unicorns? What does the word unicorn make you think of?
A horse with a horn.
Yes. What is your spiritual or non-spiritual understanding idea of unicorns?
I don't know.
Wrong answer. What do you think about unicorns?
Well, I'm asking them.
Oh, okay, got it.
Takes longer than 4 seconds. I don't know, my guy. I feel like they live in a place of like story manifestations because they show me them in a book.
That is solid.
Like a creative conscious sort of place.
Mm.
But I feel like they're created out of love and light. That's what they keep telling me. They keep showing me rainbows.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I also think about unicorns. When I was a child, I remember my mom used to take my brother and I to Babies R Us, and they had, when you walked into the sliding glass doors, and this was like when the sliding glass doors that were automatic were like new, at least in my perception, and they had a whole case right in the front of pink or purple unicorn stuffed animals that you could pick from. And little Olivia was like, oh my God, I need it. And for like 3 of the times that we went to Babies R Us as tiny Olivia, I think I was probably 4 or 5, I just kept begging my parents for one of the unicorns, and I finally got one, and it was literally like the best day of my life.
You think I had a past life as a unicorn?
I have no idea.
Well, why not?
Well, because I don't know if you can have a past life as a unicorn.
Why not? You can have a past life as a dragon.
Yeah, but I think dragons are a little bit different than unicorns.
Why
I
is
could be
that?
wrong. Because I think unicorns weren't created in the creative consciousness. I think they are a byproduct of it. But I feel like more so dragons are a little bit different. But I don't know.
I think I have a past life as a unicorn.
Cool. So today we're talking about unicorns, and I wanted to give you guys a broad spectrum analysis of the mythology of unicorns, because I'm sure most of you that are listening right now would think about the Western interpretation of unicorns. So like medieval knights and horned horses that are white and pure and rainbows and sparkles and all of that lovely like chastity and chivalry things. But before that happened, just like many things in the world, we have to understand the Eastern interpretation of unicorns, which predates our Western understanding and medieval connotation of the mythological beast itself. So let's start first with where the Eastern inspirations of unicorn mythology came from, starting with the Indus unicorn. So to begin to understand how the mythology of unicorns came to be, we have to go back to circa 3000 to 1300 BCE to a place called the Indus Valley Civilization. Along with Mesopotamia and Egypt, the Indus civilization was one of the most majorly influential civilizations of the ancient Near East. Yes, the East, because, like many rad things, our Western ideas of unicorn originated there first. Now, if you were living during this time, you may have came across or even been the maker of various Bronze Age items. Certain elite members of the Indus Valley Society chose to differentiate themselves from other groups by labeling their attire and certain personal items with a seal. Many of these personal belongings turned artifacts were decorated with a depiction of a horse-like animal shown in profile with a single horn protruding from its skull. Depicted near these creatures was usually sacred water and other offerings. However, this tenuous link to the modern day understanding of unicorns is what many modern day thinkers attribute as the original origin for the human idea of unicorns. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yep, it's interesting.
So imagine yourself as like a faraway traveler doing something on like one of the various many trade routes, and you come across a coin or, I don't know, a brooch or something that has this seal on the side of it, and you're not necessarily from the Indus civilization itself, but from one of the neighboring places or all the way from the other side of the world, since all of the exploration of the world was sort of starting to take off at this time, I would say. So, and I could be wrong, but I'm sure there was like faraway travelers that are like, wow, this is cool, neato, I wonder what this is. And you just see like the profile of some ungulate with a single horn because it's the side view, and you're like, it's a unicorn. No, it's Spider-Man, you know?
I guess.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think about it from like, you're not from this place, but you pick up the coin and you see it, and you're like, oh, that's a pretty cool thing. I've never seen something like that before. So yeah, that was, or could be taken, depending on your standpoint, the first indication of the unicorn myth. Now, there's also a whole bunch of other unicorns in other cultures of the East that are pretty neato. And the first one, which in my opinion is closest to the modern day unicorn, kind of like our interpretation of it as Westerners, is the Chinese qilin, which is their version of the unicorn. So the Chinese qilin is often depicted as a dragon with either scales or fur and a single protruding horn from its forehead. The qilin is associated with the birth or death of an important person, like they said a sage, and the only thing I could think of was like Master Jiraiya from Naruto when I was reading it. Like when he came forth from wherever and was born, there was just like a qilin that was like, nay, in the background.
Okay.
So these unicorns were said to never disturb any part of earthly life, not even a single blade of grass. In order to keep their peaceful existence, they were said to be able to delicately walk on water or glide over land. They carried a gentle, benevolent demeanor and were able to get along with all walks of life. So their demeanor, not necessarily what they look like, is probably what is mostly related to how we today in the West would think about unicorns, like magical, happy beings that live in harmony with the world.
Love and light.
Yeah. So, fun fact, in 1414, the Ming emperor was gifted with a qilin, only to find out later that it was a giraffe. Isn't that funny?
Interesting.
You're just like,
mistake.
I got this cool dragon, guys, and it's a unicorn. You want to come see it? And then some dude's like, hey, I got bad news for you, dude. I wonder how bad of a day he was having. I don't know. If someone gave me a giraffe and I thought it was like a rhinoceros, I would still be like, it's pretty cool. You want to come see it, guys? And another fun fact for all of our, I think it was a Disney movie, but I could be wrong. Disney, Universal, whatever. One of the big old movie people. Sisu, the character from Raya and the Last Dragon, I think actually had inspiration drawn from qilin mythology. Although I think the character of Sisu from Raya and the Last Dragon has two horns instead of one, but same, but different. Did you get to watch that movie?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I recommend it. It's Raya and the Last Dragon. It's so cute.
Never seen it.
It's fabulous. All right, now, next unicorn take, I guess. So you also have the Islamic unicorns, the first of which is called the Karkadan, or Karkadan. And I think it sounds pretty cool. I feel like if I get a dog that looks like it could be maybe a little bit scary but majestic, I want to call him Karkadan. I think it'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just sounds like a big old scary monster that's going to eat you, which is kind of consistent. Anyways, so the Karkadan, unlike the benevolent qilin, was depicted as fearsome and bloodthirsty. They were said to actively hunt humans, and that anyone who would hear their cries would instantaneously die. They would be like, no, my ear holes. And then
see, I'm telling you, I was a past life as a unicorn.
a Karkadan. Well, actually, wait till we get to the Sadhavar. That one makes me think of you, honestly, in like the way your art style is. But so, anyways, the Karkadon was revered as being bloodthirsty and fearsome, and that their cries would kill anyone that heard them. In one story, the Karkadon defeats its mortal enemy. Can you guess what its mortal enemy is?
Your mom.
No. Come on.
A mouse.
That's close because of the relationship between the two in satire. But no. It's an elephant. And you're like, you can't have horns bigger than me. You're my mortal enemy. That's what I thought about.
Jesus.
You got to say it in like a Randy Savage voice. That's what the Karkadon would sound like. So in one story, the Karkadon defeats its mortal enemy, the elephant, by impaling it with its horn so deeply that it can't get unstuck from its opponent. And he's just like, I got you, but now you're just stuck on my face.
Gross.
Right? Like you would think like our understanding of unicorns is like pretty and whatever, but the origins of the unicorn is actually quite sadistic and odd. So based off this info, what would you guess a Karkadon would look like?
A crocodile.
That's I would probably think that too if I didn't do the research.
Mm-hmm.
So in a very old text, the Karkadon was described by polymath Al-Biruni as a scaly buffalo with yellow hooves and a horned nose.
So he's like a kelpie.
I thought kelpies were supposed to look like seals.
They look like horses.
Do they? Oh, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about.
They're
Got it.
supposed to be like black horses or something.
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about. Got it. Well, okay, so based on what Al Barini says, a scaly buffalo with yellow hooves and a horned nose, what is your next guess of what a Karkadon could actually be?
Your mom.
That is not an answer.
But it's a good one. A mouse.
No.
A dragon.
No. It was a rhino. This dude saw rhinos and was like, it's a Karkadon. And then, from his description, the idea of a Karkadon was interpreted by many others and mistranslated and embellished to create even more zoological amalgamations, such as, original Karkadon was talked by Al Biruni as a scaly buffalo with yellow hooves and a horned nose. And people were like, got it, cool, bloodthirsty, horned nose, scaly. This is what they came up with after that. They had winged antelopes, horses, some feline figures that had a single horn or double horns protruding from their forehead, and other mismatched creatures. One account describes a Karkadon as having the head of a camel, the body of a mule, a tail and hooves of a bull, and then another story retold it as being an elephant-horse mashup. Just people were like, Karkadon, got it. Winged antelope. Just
crocodiles.
Crocodile.
Mm-hmm.
And one medieval geographer named Muhammad al-Idris writes that the Karkadon's horn is so big that you cannot wrap both your hands around it. So this dude's
You know what else is like that? I can't. I'm sorry. You started it.
No, you're right. I told you this was going to be a horny podcast.
That's why I'm not as excited for it.
So this medieval geographer saw a Karkadon, as what he says. And I feel like when he's talking about this description, Muhammad al-Idrisi, I think he's talking about a rhino, but he writes that the Karkadon's horn is so big you cannot wrap both your hands around it.
Same.
And then there's a naturalist called Al-Damiri, and he insists that the horn of the Karkadon is so heavy that the creature cannot even hold up its own head.
Same.
All right, and now the next Islamic version of the unicorn is the Sadhavar. So I said Em would like this one because it's kind of like a jackalope, but with a twist. And it just made me think about your BFA projects. So the Sadhavar is depicted as a deer-like animal that sprouts hollowed-out branches from its single horn. Its bare, tree-like horn creates enticing music as the wind passes through its branches. However, unsuspecting victims are attracted by the melody, only to be devoured by the Sadhavar as a snack.
That also sounds like me.
a bloodthirsty deer thing that just has a horn of a tree and it just
It's so full of love and light.
All right, so there's actually a Persian unicorn folktale. So the story tells of a unicorn horn being ground up and mixed with dust, then sprinkled over bandits who were found on the outskirts of a city poised to rob it. The hero sprinkles the unicorn dust on the sleeping bandits, causing them to become paralyzed. And because the bandits cannot move, they cannot steal from the people, and the town is saved. Huzzah!
So like Baltimore drinking their blood.
Yeah. And this goes into, so this Persian folktale goes into a lot of the magical properties of unicorn horns that people believed, just like in Harry Potter. So unicorn horns were sold by hunters and bought by the elite for their alleged magical and healing powers. Many horns were made into cups or staffs and used in, like, I think it was Christian churches as well. So if you look at a lot of Christian church art and things, pictures of unicorns and their horns are depicted a lot. So these cups and staffs made out of supposed unicorn horns were prized by royalty and seen as even sacred. Queen Elizabeth actually had like a narwhal horn that was believed to be a unicorn horn, and it was like super, super protected because it was sacred and awesome and had healing powers. So later, most of these things were found to be rhino horns or even narwhal horns, and the remedies for using unicorn horns were countless. They had magical things such as they were able to cure illnesses, keep a horse standing that was lame, heat cold water, and even ward off evil forces.
And that's why all of the rhinos are dead.
I actually wanted to look into that and research it because I know a lot of
People
poaching.
think the same properties happen with ivory and
Yeah.
their horns.
And it makes me really upset and angry. So it's kind of like unicorns are gone, but people still think that these horns hold powers. And it's like, that's not how it works. We don't go around yanking teeth out of your head and then calling them cool things. So stop doing that. Anyways, that's a whole soapbox for another day. But you are correct. I'm sure that's exactly where all of that came from and continues to be today.
Makes me angry.
So now we have Eastern to Western ideas of the unicorn. Do you have any questions, comments, things to share? Okay, I'm excited. So around 400 BCE, Greek physician, it's Satesius, reported Indian unicorns in the following manner. He said that they have crimson heads, multicolored horns, and shapely ankles. Ooh la la. And he noted them to be extremely bloodthirsty by nature, capable of outrunning any animal there is, and they're only vulnerable when they leave their foals to graze. However, they are remarkable parents, and they rarely leave their young anyways. So much so is their bloodthirsty nature that he noted that they prey upon hunters and kill them, as well as their steeds. So you just got crimson-horned, rainbow multicolored things running amok, running down people and just gutting them open.
And you researched all of this, and you have the audacity to tell me that I don't have a past life as a unicorn.
I mean,
why do you think my signs and symbols are rainbows? But I crawled out of hell. That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
I mean, I'm not telling you that I don't think you have a past life as a unicorn. You do you, boo. I'm just saying that most unicorns come from real life things. So I don't know how.
So do mermaids.
That's true. So you do you. Anyways, we have the Aristotle's depiction of a unicorn. Actually, no, we're going to talk about Pliny. Pliny first. Pliny was another Greek person because all of our Western ideas come from Greek things, right? That's why I'm listing these things, because we are very impressionable people, and this is where all of these things came from. So Pliny wrote of a beast he called the monoceroses, which in Greek, Latin, whatever, means single horn. It was said to have a stag's head, elephant's feet, a boar's tail, and a single black horn. Claudius Elanius described his version of the unicorn as a red-haired horse with a curly pigtail and spiraling horn. And Aristotle's depiction of a unicorn is that of a goat with a single horn who floats or flies as transportation. He floats across the earth without touching the ground. And eventually, Aristotle's depiction of a unicorn would lead to the association that all unicorns are male because it was a dude goat with a single horn just flying through the sky, which makes me think about, I think it was...
How Noah only took one unicorn on the ark.
I'm so excited that you talk about that too, because we're getting into the Catholic Christian idea of unicorns next. Because they're in the Bible too, I guess. But no, it makes me think about, I think it was Odin in our Christmas episode with the goats that pull the sleigh. Just, they had two horns, but maybe they were actually unicorns. Who knows? So now we have the West and the East mixing together. So Abrahamic scripture, which was mistranslated from its original Hebrew name of Ra'em, meaning ox, to the Greek monokeros, taken to mean unicorn. The original, I think it's called cuneiform symbols, which are in this Abrahamic scripture. They look like two wedge shapes. Originally, they were interpreted as having two horns, and it kind of looks like if you were to put like a box on one side and then, or like make like a little simple house and then turn it on its side, or like an equal sign and then a parenthesis a little bit. But the original cuneiform symbols, this little, I don't know, two wedge shapes, were interpreted as having one single horn. Today, most scholars take the symbol for Ra'em as a double-horned creature, but, that's where the misinterpretation came from. So this cuneiform got messed up along with the mistranslation of Ra'em, which is ox, to mean unicorn. So the unicorn's ferocious nature was carried for centuries from Western depictions or Eastern depictions to the West. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It makes me excited. So the unicorn's ferocious nature is carried on for a few centuries, which can be seen in various Christian excerpts. So in 370 CE, it's not Basil, it's Basil. They said it funny, but Saint Basil warns of a unicorn in his collected homilies on the creation story. One passage states, "And take heed unto thyself, O man, and beware the unicorn, who is the demon." But then he says, the unicorn will gouge and devour man, and that the epic power of the unicorn compares only with the unconquerable strength of God. So he's like, hey guys, unicorns are the devil, but also the only thing that could be as unmatched in strength is that of God himself. And I'm like, I don't understand. Are unicorns cool or are unicorns not cool?
Probably both. I mean, half the people think mermaids are cool and half the people think they're out to kill you.
That's the same thing with fairies. That's true.
And dragons.
There's also a story of, I guess, someone says that in the Garden of Eden, the first animal that was with Adam and Eve was a unicorn. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe that's why horses like apples.
You're not supposed to eat from the tree.
Well, I know. I just thought it was funny, Well, what if the unicorn actually was like, hey, let's eat these apples. And then Eve's like, nah, let's not eat these apples.
So that's why they died?
Well, I have no idea because, I don't know, this Saint Basil, I don't know, what's the Gordon Ramsay, Basil? Just insert Gordon Ramsay here. I don't know, Saint Basil says that he's like the demon. He's like the devil, so I don't know.
Beelzebub.
I don't know. He just says, and beware the unicorn who is the demon. But I don't know what the unicorn was doing in the Garden of Eden. We're just spitballing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. Another text is an anonymously authored book called the Philosophagus. Yeah, Philosophagus. And it's a Christian natural history text written sometime between the 2nd and 4th century. They describe the unicorn as a baby goat-sized creature with a fierce attitude that could only be lured away for capture using a virgin as bait. Thus, the association of the unicorn with the Virgin Mother Mary was born, pun intended.
Wow.
Right? I just love how all this stuff like goes down the line like a waterfall and it just spitballs. It really is just a giant game of telephone from BCE to AD.
I mean, that's with everything, though.
It really is. It makes me happy. So now the idea of unicorns being associated with Christ was cool for a while until Pope, I think it's Gelasius, put the kibosh on the whole idea. Pope Gelasius declared the whole thing heretical in 496. Now, the unicorn was back to its proverbial forbidden fruit, and people got jiggy with the idea of the unicorn itself, and it exploded across Europe in the Middle Ages and the medieval times. So, the idea of the unicorn itself kind of kept a little bit of its Eastern characteristics of being ferocious and bloodthirsty and all these other things. But it wasn't until 496 when Pope Gelasius was like, this is all heresy. And the people were like, oh, the forbidden fruit of the unicorn? We're going to make it bigger. And they did, because that's just how it goes. When mom says you can't have a cookie, now you want a cookie. That cookie was the unicorn. So the Christian story of Saint Barlam and Josaphat tells about a monstrous unicorn. Saint Barlam is teaching about the inevitability, there we go, there's too many T's in there, of death, using the unpredictability of the world as a unicorn parable. So in the story that Saints Barlam and Josaphat talk about, a man ends up being chased into a well of snakes by a unicorn, and he just hangs onto a tree branch in this well with all these snakes just like being like, I'm a snake around him, which the unicorn is outside of the well waiting with a lobster bib to eat him, and this dude's just hanging onto a tree branch, which eventually he dies. But the whole thing is that Saints Barlam and the Saint Barlam dude is trying to teach Josaphat, I guess, like, you can't escape death. And they used the unicorn to do it. Are you going to go up to your children one day and be like, I'm going to teach you how the world works with a death-eating unicorn that's going to chase you into a hole that you can't escape because eventually you're going to die anyways, and the things that love you could hurt you? I have no idea.
Yeah, I feel like unicorns were dangerous in Harry Potter too, so.
Were they?
I mean, horses can be dangerous.
Yeah.
So.
That's true.
1,500-pound animal, like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Unicorns are supposed to be happy and whatever, but
he was like, you gotta protect the happiness somehow. Otherwise, they would all be dead. Oh, wait,
what?
They're all dead.
Oh, all my friends are dead. Sorry. So this created the idea of unicorns being associated with death, even being able to detect and kill false virgins.
I'm pretty sure I was a unicorn in a past life.
I mean, go for it. I'm all about it. I want to be a unicorn, but I want to be like Pinkie Pie or something. That's the difference. So, The Hunt of the Unicorn is a 7 tapestry series created in the 1500s that was lost until it was found. I don't remember when it was found, but that like crazy sort of era that followed Pope Gelasius sort of ixnaying the whole cool thing about unicorns being related to Christ. Some person in the medieval ages was like, nah, dude, I'm going to make 7 tapestries and then sell them individually about the hunt of the unicorn. And then eventually maybe people are going to be like, I'm going to put these together like some sort of, what is that movie with the dude that finds treasure and he has to put all of these clues together to
Treasure Planet.
No, it's not Treasure Planet.
What the hell?
It has Nicolas Cage in it. I think it's Nicolas Cage. Dude,
National Treasure?
Yes! It's like National Treasure. The original National Treasure is the 7 tapestries of the unicorn hunt. Thank you. I needed that. Absolutely pop culture trash. That's me. So, the 7 tapestry series created that was lost in the 1500s and then found. If you put all of the tapestries together, it shows this white unicorn, very much like what we perceive unicorns as today, being hunted by these people and then just like killed. And they use a virgin to try and like lure the unicorn away in order to take it and kill it. And most people say that this is a parallel representation to the story of Christ's crucifixion. So yeah, that's another way that, unicorns have been taken into mythology and folklore in our society today. Now, because of the sort of mystique and fearsomeness around unicorns and the legends that created them, they've been used in modern day to represent a lot of cool things as well. One of those things is the Scotland's coat of arms. If you look at them, they got 2 unicorns. And it's cool because in a lot of old text, unicorns had split hooves like goats or cows, not like horses. And in the Scotland coats of arms, they have those same goat-like hooves where they're split. And they actually have lion tails too, which goes back to how unicorns had more of a, what is it called? I think it's not chameleon, it's chimera, sort of chimera factor of it's just a whole bunch of animals put together. But it was cool. So to represent power and strength and just being that thing that eludes everything else for like the greater good-ish type thing. So unicorns are real. However, each world account can be traced back to real living beings, such as Indian rhinos, the Tibetan antelope, I think they called it the onager, and the kiang, which are both types of donkeys. And in the case of the Indus Valley unicorn, they figured out was a representation of something called an auroch, which is a type of large wild cattle whose ancestors are today's domestic cattle, which I thought was kind of cool. So, fun fact, some people believe the idea of unicorns dates back to even prehistoric times. So, before the Indus Valley unicorn, and cave drawings and bones were found from a creature named the Elasmotherium, which they believe inspired the beginning of unicorns before the Indus Valley. So if you look at the cave drawings, there's actually just like this giant ass rhino thing on the side of a wall painted. It was kind of cool. It was like this really hairy rhino. So did you know that dinosaur bones actually led to people believing in giants existing at one point?
Yep. You told me that.
It's kind of like the same thing. I think George Washington believed in giants. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. That's just the like ADHD fun facts that live in my head right and free. Mm-hmm. So the European unicorn has since then been created from all of those cool things. Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have stuff like Lisa Frank, stickers, mugs, and a super gory scene from The Cabin in the Woods where this dude gets like disemboweled by a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that? I figured you might know about that.
That's a good one.
And then we also got Twilight Sparkle from My Little Pony. So unicorns may look different from culture to culture, but you could all categorize them by their rarity, ferocity, and unpredictability, which can all be seen in each of their shared legends. Now, on a little bit of a different note, I didn't know this, but the queer community have taken the unicorn to represent their ideology as well, as a creature which shuns the status quo and reminds others how special and resilient they are. The unicorn has been adopted as both slang and a symbol, and this is the part that I didn't know, because I know LGBTQ plus is rainbows and unicorns. That I'm totally on board with. Love rainbows and unicorns too. But a little more concurrent with the times, Ukrainian LGBTQ plus soldiers have been sewing unicorn patches onto their uniforms as an expression of pride, solidarity, and the desire to be seen, echoing the essence of the unicorn's nature, whose power lies in its outer status, hybridity, and resilience to classification. And I just thought that was really beautiful because that's not something that I knew. So given the midst of the horrible war that's in Ukraine, a little bit of unicorn power can go a long way. Did you like my story on unicorns?
Yeah.
That was great. So if you guys like things like this, make sure to like and comment if you're listening on the PsycKicks Extras YouTube channel, or give us a good rating or a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And let us know what you want to hear about next in the comments below. If you're interested in joining Patreon, go looky doodle at that in the show notes, because you'll help get priority over picking what we talk about next. But until then, thank you so much for listening, and good night. We are your PsycKicks.